Out here on Middle Bass Island, high lake levels and heavy rain have caused flooding in the roads and on people's yards. But if you take a look at the lake, you can see its levels are nearly level with the land. Yeah, good evening, Rob. A lot of confusion tonight. The Cuyahoga County Board of Elections, like other boards of elections all across the state, has been preparing to hold an election tomorrow. But the statement late tonight upended those plans completely. According to the study, the droplets from coughing or sneezing without a mask on at all can go about 8 feet, beyond the 6-foot distance typically observed in social distancing. Wear a bandana, that cuts the distance to about 3.5 feet. And a stitched cotton mask, those droplets may go just a few inches. The smell of that natural gas additive permeates the air, and you can even hear the hissing as that gas is escaping from right beneath this flag. Instead of evaluating drivers from inside the car like usual, driver examiners will now remain outside the car, here in a closed course in the BMV parking lot, where they can evaluate drivers from a safe distance. Cut down trees and branches are stacked curbside, and we've even seen tree removal services here all day long trying to help people clean up. A portion of the profits Rivalry Brews makes shipping beer from Ohio breweries directly to customers will go toward Irresponsible, an environmental nonprofit that can use that money to help clean up Lake Erie. I'm Olivia Fecteau in Richland County, Ohio, where an EF2 tornado ripped through the city of Shelby and surrounding communities, causing damage like what you see here in this front yard. It's not just tables in dining rooms of restaurants that have to be 6 feet apart. From the back of this chair to the back of the chair at the next table, well, that has to be 6 feet too. And that's why this restaurant has plexiglass barriers in between tables to keep people safe. The governor's announcement was welcome news here at La Villa Conference and Banquet Center. In a space this size, they say accommodating up to 300 people more than 6 feet apart won't be a problem. This is almost the end of the wastewater treatment process. This water will eventually go back out to Lake Erie. Drinking water plants often draw their water from the lake, and neither type of treatment plant can remove all the pharmaceuticals from the water. Another effect of high lake levels, flooding in Sandusky. Lagoon Deer Park hasn't been able to open its petting zoo to the public. That includes this goat and 200 or so other animals. Barbershops and hair salons can open in Ohio next Friday. In the meantime, businesses like Heights Uptown Barbershop here in Cleveland Heights are making changes to ensure customers can come back safely. County fairs like this one in Lorain County give researchers a chance to visit a bunch of pigs in one place. And that's helpful because what they're doing is essentially wiping pigs' noses. This bridge on Cleveland-Massillon Road takes about 4,500 vehicles per day over Wolf Creek. But now there are signs like this one letting drivers know it's closed.
Record high water levels have caused flooding along Lake Erie and on Middle Bass Island. Residents have had to deal with high water and flooding now for weeks.
It is a mess. News 5's Olivia Fecteau spent the day on Middle Bass Island. Neighbors there say the lake hasn't been this high in more than 30 years.
Out here on Middle Bass Island, high lake levels and heavy rain have caused flooding in the roads and on people's yards. But if you take a look at the lake, you can see its levels are nearly level with the land. From high up, the boat in someone's yard on Middle Bass Island doesn't look totally out of place. But when you take a closer look, the flooding and high water are obvious. Front yards are underwater, and in some spots, several inches of water cover the roads.
Your first concern is apprehension on whether you should go through it or not.
In Burgundy Bay, Don Massey took us in his Jeep to show us what the high water looks like up close.
If you find yourself on smooth road, you're probably not on the road.
Massey spends May through October on Middle Bass Island and works for Miller Boat Line. He says the number of passengers on the ferry to the island is down as a result of the high water.
There's a lot of cottages that haven't even been summarized and opened yet, so those people, there's no sense in them coming up. First of all, they can't get to it. It's pretty much inaccessible. And even if they get in there, what are they going to do?
Massey says flooding aside, he's concerned about issues this high water may bring along with it.
We'll weather this just fine. But in the long run, the things that do worry me immediately will be, of course, the insects and the mosquitoes this summer, the repair of the roads.
It's more difficult now than it's ever been in the 34 years we've been here.
Ernie Heisey and others here on Middle Bass Island realize this high water is a problem that may not go away anytime soon, and they'll have to live with that.
But it's just annoying and aggravating and difficult to get to their houses and get away from their houses, to the ferry boat, back to the ferry boat, or go to the store or restaurants or whatever.
The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers says right now Lake Erie has surpassed its record level set back in 1986. The Army Corps of Engineers is predicting the lake's level will drop by 2 inches by July 1st.
Today's decision also brought out protesters here in Cleveland. Dozens of people gathering at the Free Stamp downtown.
Our Olivia Fecteau is there. And Olivia, what was the overall message from those demonstrations tonight?
Yeah, good evening, Courtney. Their message is the system needs to change, and they don't believe today's ruling reflected that.
We're here today because, once again, the American judicial system has shown no value in black life.
Those at the rally grieved together, frustrated that no one was charged for Taylor's death.
Nothing has changed.
Disappointment, frustration, pain, anxiety.
Brandon Towns of Lake County came downtown Wednesday night. Earlier in the day, he had a conversation with his young daughter.
She knows that when you do something wrong, you're held accountable. But we didn't see that today.
Towns, an assistant principal at a Cleveland high school, says someone needs to be held responsible for Taylor's death.
This isn't the first time, won't be the last. And we want change.
Case Western Reserve law professor Aisha Bell Hardaway says no-knock warrants, the type executed in that Louisville raid, are allowed under Ohio law only if an officer is able to convince a judge their safety is in danger, or that the only safe way to arrest someone or secure evidence is by doing so without warning. But in Ohio, she says the Castle Doctrine, which allows someone to defend themselves against a person coming into their house, makes that practice illogical.
The practice in and of itself, I think, is just extremely unsafe. And the results, the likelihood of a deadly result being the outcome is the same. I think the message out of Louisville today typifies why America must constantly be reminded that all Black lives matter, even if they're somehow suspected of being connected to some level of illegality.
Town says the system has to change.
Justice should have been here 50 years ago. Justice should have been here 100 years ago. So this is too slow.
And Professor Bell Hardaway tells me there is no statute of limitations on a murder charge. That means the state of Kentucky could at some point in the future decide to bring additional charges against the officer who was indicted today or the other officers involved in that case. The federal government could also pursue charges.
The number of jobless claims filed in Ohio continues to slow down week by week, but in all, more people have filed for unemployment in just the last 8 weeks than in the last 3 years combined. The Ohio Department of Job and Family Services says it's paid out upwards of $2.4 billion to more than 587,000 people. But News 5's Olivia Fecteau tells us that is little comfort to those still waiting for help.
Almost 2 months after he was laid off, Antoine Wade got his job back this week as a dishwasher at Square 22 restaurant in Strongsville, which reopens Friday.
He said, well, I called you because I know you needed some financial help, so I wanted to get you started earlier. So, I mean, it was beautiful. I went back to work, and it was very nice to be back to work.
We first met Wade in April. For weeks, he'd tried to apply for unemployment with no success.
It was really dire straits then. I didn't know what I was going to do.
This week, Wade was finally able to file a claim, but he doesn't know how long it'll take to get paid for the 2 months he was out of work.
Only money I got in here is a $2 bill that I hold for good luck. I'm kind of behind on my rent. I'm behind on my light and gas, and I've received some shut-off notices. But I've been sending them $20, $30, whatever I can afford to send them. But I ain't had no money, so I mean, it's been very tedious.
The Ohio Department of Job and Family Services says it's processed about 90% of the unemployment claims it's received. Wade's claim is among those still pending. ODJFS is urging people to apply for unemployment for the time they were out of work, even if they're now back on the job.
I certainly empathize with somebody who is in a difficult financial situation, can't get through on a phone call, can't get an answer, and doesn't know where their claim may be in the process. It's incredibly frustrating.
Lieutenant Governor John Husted says ODJFS has done a lot, from improving the website to increasing the number of people handling calls, but he knows many people are still waiting for help.
If you're eligible for a benefit, you're going to get paid for that, even if it takes longer than is acceptable.
Antoine Wade is glad to be working again, but unsure how he's going to manage financially.
I'm just hoping they understand that it wasn't my fault that I got out of work. But I just hope they rectify the situation as fast as possible.
An iconic Cleveland restaurant is shutting down after serving up a simple delicacy for nearly a century.
Old-fashioned hot dogs in Ohio City says it's closing at the end of March. News 5's Olivia Fecteau caught up with the owner and learned what led to this tough decision.
The menu is simple. The price is just a couple bucks, but for the people who walk through the door each day,
old-fashioned hot dog.
The memories are priceless.
It just reminds me of my childhood. My dad bring me here. He's passed away, but I just love this place.
Ted Tanzik has been coming here since he was 4 years old, and like many people,
where am I going to go for hot dogs?
He's shocked old-fashioned hot dogs is shutting down.
This is a Cleveland institution. I mean, it's been here forever.
The shop is just 9 feet wide by 40 feet long, but its history as a hot dog shop in Northeast Ohio spans nearly a century. Originally started by a Greek immigrant in 1928, this place was once called the Hot Dog Inn. Tom Sorma's family took over in the late 1980s.
The oldest customer we had was Mr. Wells, and he's gone now. He was about 5 years now. I asked him, I said, Mr. Wells, when was the first time you came in here? He said, 1933. My dad brought me. I was 10 years old.
They've been serving loyal customers for years now. And that makes saying goodbye hard.
Oh, it's tough. It's really tough, but, you know, what are you going to do?
The building at the corner where Old Fashioned Hot Dog sits on Lorraine Avenue has been bought by a developer, My Place Group. The developer says he offered the owners the chance to stay and reopen the shop in the new building that will go up in this one's place. But Sorma says it wouldn't be the same.
I think this is it. I'm going to retire. You know, I'm 67 years old. It's kind of a little hard to keep going on.
He's arranged to sell the iconic sign hanging outside, and he's preparing to wind down, but customers aren't ready yet.
Today we've been so jammed up, it's been off the charts.
Ted Tanzik has been bringing his own son, Ted Jr., to eat here for years. They plan to stop in a few more times before it closes.
You go through life, and then when you find something that you've been with for so long, it's just it just brings back memories from when you were a kid.
Sorma knows his life will change soon, too.
Well, that's going to be different, yeah. That's going to be different, for sure.
But for one more month, he'll keep hot dogs on the grill, and the customers will keep showing up to share part of Cleveland's history. Reporting in Ohio City, Olivia Fecteau, News 5.